From mentor king, them fabulous things. Not finished till I hear that Nazareth sing. From the rooftops, they know my name. Then I brought it to the booth box with a dream. Yeah, show me things. Opportunity knocks, the pen locks the next time that somebody from...
Welcome to the panel discussion. My name is Christine Drakage, and I'm the head coach of the University of Toronto Varsity Blues women's volleyball team. I'm excited to be the moderator today. You know, it's really the voices of Black women, athletes, coaches, and sport leaders are often silenced or minimized in comparison to their white male and female colleagues and peers. And, you know, a lot of this is because of stereotypes of race and gender, and as well as systemic and institutionalized racism. And it's all part of what contributes to that. And I'm just really excited to give the opportunity to lift up the voices of and experiences of Black women in volleyball. And so now to get started, we can have our panelists introduce themselves. Corinne, over to you.
Hi, I'm Corinne Williams. I am in Kitchener. I currently coach with the KW Predators. My coaching career has now extended to 25 plus years. And I have had the experience at the university level, provincial level, regional, and right now I coach with Team Ontario as a mentor coach. But I have to say that I do love being in the club system and working the grassroots and those athletes there. When I did play, and that was a long time ago, it was at University of Waterloo. And that's it for me.
Linnea, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Linnea Davis. I've been coaching for 4 seasons with Milton Edge. Before that, I played at Niagara College, and before that, I played at Brock. I started coaching literally in high school. Everyone knows Spikes. I was one of those teenagers who had their first job coaching younger athletes at Spikes, and that's where I fell in love with volleyball, and here I am now.
Amazing. And Ashley, over to you.
My name is Ashley Northfleet. I used to play for the McGill Martlets, and then I transitioned into a coach at Dawson College. I've been the head coach there since 2016, and in 2019 I had the opportunity to go back to the Martlets as an assistant coach. I'm a fairly young coach, but I'm eager to learn, continually trying to improve myself and work on my professional development, and I am currently Jolie's mentee with the Black Female Mentorship Coach Program of Canada. So I'm excited to be here.
Oh, amazing.
Ditto on that. Jolie's both of our mentors.
Amazing. Nikki, how about you?
My name's Nikki Cornwall. I'm out in BC. I'm like majority of us here. I'm currently the athletic development director at Volleyball, which is a new facility. Prior to that, though, I played for 4 years at Trinity Western, and we won our first national championship in program history together in 2015, I believe. And then I went overseas for a couple of years and played in Germany and Finland. And I've always been involved in coaching ever since I graduated high school. I've been in helping with club, Team BC, running camps, all of the above. So I'm loving every moment of it, and I'm loving the learning process that it's been too.
Amazing. And Shanice.
Hi, I'm Shanice Marcel. I consider myself a player coach. I'm currently a Canadian national beach volleyball team member, and I'm assistant at York University. I got into volleyball when I was very young, and I've been really blessed with some amazing experiences. I played university at the University of British Columbia. Then I went and played overseas for a couple of years, and then I got really injured. And that's kind of when I got started with coaching in kind of the club system at camps and things like that. And I've kind of stuck with it since because it's been really valuable to give back. And yeah, I'm loving managing kind of, you know, that player aspect, but still that coaching aspect as well.
Amazing. And Jolie, over to you.
Hi, I'm Jolie Christian, or Jolie Christian McFarland, depending on what time of day or what circumstances. I'm the head coach at the Royal Military College of Canada, where I've been with them for 7 seasons. Previously, I was with Queen's University for 7 seasons. Previously to that, I was with Christine Drakage at University of Toronto as an assistant coach. I've been in the coaching world not quite as long as Corinne, but pretty close. And prior to that, I played for the University of Manitoba and the University of Regina as a USPORT athlete. I've coached at the regional, provincial team, national team levels domestically, as well as the head coach of the current military national team here in Canada.
Thank you, all panelists. Oh my, it's an amazing amount of experience and awesomeness on this panel. Just, I have to say that up front. Thank you for being here. I'm going to ask the first question, so anybody who wants to jump in there. You know, all of you have so many, so much experience in the sport of volleyball. What's made you, I don't know, continue for those that have been around for a while, or for those that are new, get into coaching? And I guess the second part of that is maybe if you can share a coaching philosophy or a coaching belief or principles in coaching that resonates with you. I'm going to throw it out there to the panelists. Linnea.
Go ahead.
What keeps me coaching is just I've been really focused on my not so secret goal, which is always trying to get more females to continue playing volleyball. Past high school, past club, a lot of them, as you guys know, drop off. So that's kind of one of the things that keeps me coaching. And one of my philosophies is that you can always be a good teammate no matter what your strength is. It's like the easiest thing to do, the most effortless thing to do is to be a good teammate no matter what your athletic ability is.
Amazing. I am just going to jump in there for a second because I completely forgot somebody, the organizer of this. My apologies. Callie, where are you?
I am here.
Introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Callie Sorrow. I grew up in actually Vancouver, did 10 years there, did not know anything about volleyball. I was a professional African dancer for the first 10 years of my life. That's how I actually met Nikki. And moved to Ottawa, family moved to Ottawa, then was this long, lanky kid who could kind of move. Got a scholarship to the University of Ottawa, played my 5 years, went to nationals twice, also played on the 2013 Canada Summer Games team. And then transitioned out of volleyball, thought I could leave it, but decided I couldn't. I had to stay attached. So Lionel had called me back and said, hey, we have an opportunity for you as a volunteer, but you could work still within sport. So he caught me that way. And then last year I transitioned into becoming the full-time assistant coach for the University of Ottawa. So that's kind of the intro. And then I'll go back to the question that you just had asked there, Christine. As I said, I had left it for a little while, but I think why I continue coaching is just there's a reward that you get from giving kids confidence and giving kids tools to develop, not just in sport, but kind of in life too. Inspiring them that way has kind of kept me attached to it and watching them grow in their own unique ways and also found their love for sport. So that's why I stay in it. A philosophy of mine for coaching would be probably honesty gets you honesty. I'm very honest in the way that I go about my life. When it's vulnerable and I'm feeling crappy, then I will tell people that. And I hope that the athletes will tell me when they're either not understanding, either not feeling confident about something. And that's something that I think I've used more now, especially in times of COVID. just where they're at, be honest, and then we can grow from there. So yeah.
Thank you. Amazing. Does somebody else want to?
I'll add to this one.
Awesome.
I think for me, I definitely love coaching. It's made the transition out of playing extremely, like, way easier than I thought it would be. And I think that's just because I love it so much. And I think for me, the biggest thing that kind of keeps me going some days is like last summer, I was coaching probably 10 hours a day. And I think I was kind of just fueled by like the smiles on the kids' faces when they improved or when they like kind of fell in love with the game. And then I think philosophy wise, I've just found that coaching is kind of like cracking a code. I treat it very similar to like teaching math. You can't just teach it one way. It doesn't work for every kid. So I love private lessons because it allows me that one-on-one to really get to know the kid and find ways to make it make sense in their head. Yeah, so I think, yeah, for me, it's kind of fun as a coach to try to figure out a way that would help them understand or help them improve. And that kind of challenge is my new challenge, I guess, as a coach.
Thank you. Jolie, I see the wave.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I think for me, coaching came out of a pay it forward philosophy that when I was younger and grew up in a single parent family, there weren't a lot of opportunities. And I think volleyball saved my life. Volleyball put me in a position where I was surrounded by girls that looked like me. I was allowed to make mistakes and felt comfortable because they looked like me. I grew up in Scarborough, and there weren't a lot of opportunities for girls that didn't play. If you either ran track or you played basketball, and this was something that spoke to me on a totally different level. And luckily for me, as my club, we had a lot of young Black girls in my club, the Scarborough Titans at the time. And it's interesting because, you know, as I move up in the levels and I see that there aren't as many Black kids playing, not now, not as you go higher up, not as you hit university, not as you hit, you know, the national team program. And for me, the whole idea of finding a way for kids to always feel comfortable, right? Young women to always feel comfortable in their skin means they have to be surrounded by people that look like them. And so for me, it's a pay it forward. I was with Scarborough Falcons for a number of years, which was a lot of young Black girls playing. And the focus for me was always on find opportunities, get them to play, get them to university, get them a future. And it's always been part of what I believe in terms of coaching. I'm going to help you scale your Mount Everest, whatever that may look like. And if that's getting to university, then that's what it is. If that's just getting day to day through life, then that's what it is too. But that's always been how I have guided myself as a coach.
Shanice.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jolie.
I just kind of want to add on to that because for me, one of my very first coaching experiences, I was on Vancouver Island coaching a camp, and I kind of got into it because I wanted to make some extra money. And beyond that, it wasn't really anything. And I had this interaction with one of the young athletes, and she was a young biracial woman. And she came up to me and asked me this question. And the question that she asked me had nothing to do with volleyball, had nothing to do with sport really. And like the fact that she, you know, trusted me in asking me this question made me really sit back and think like, wow, like I'm in a position where I can really impact people. And all she said was, do you like your hair? And I remember when I was her age and I hated my hair. I hated everything, you know, that made me different. I hated everything that made me stick out. And now I'm in a position where, you know, I can talk to this young woman and like get her to realize the things that make her different are the things that make her beautiful and unique and special. And for me, that's kind of why I continue with coaching. I really want to be, you know, a visible person in this sport where there's so few of us, and like give these young athletes someone to look up to and someone to aspire to and to hopefully dream bigger than I ever dreamed.
Corinne.
Yeah, since I've been, I guess, in the coaching realm a little longer than some of you guys, what keeps me there is it's always been the athletes. and their enthusiasm, their desire to be better, opportunities to help them become better. If I am truthful with myself, I am definitely a task or a goal setter. And one of the things that I wanted to accomplish in coaching was to achieve my coaching levels. And then I would admit that Christine was a mentor for me, along with Scotty, Diane Scott, Leslie Erie, Lori Eisler. All those were female coaches, strong female coaches at the university level, and their ability to accomplish what they've accomplished inspired me to try and do a similar thing. It didn't have anything to do with my skin color, but it had to do with my gender. And I wanted to make sure, that was my level of achievement that I wanted to work towards. And that's what kept me going. That's what drove me through coaching. But now it's the satisfaction of seeing the athletes excel. I'm going to admit that I live in Kitchener-Waterloo and predominantly white area. I can honestly say that I might less than 10 colored kids have come through my coaching. If I think about it, I have not had that many. The ones that have come through don't necessarily stay with the sport, as you were saying, Jolie. But again, it's the experience they have while they are in the sport, and hopefully, as I go through, as I continue, there'll be more. But in my area, I can't say that there are a lot.
Thank you all for responding to that question. Wonderful. I'm wondering if you could share your biggest achievement as a Black woman in sports so far. And I think the wave is a good way to do it. I like that. Do the wave. So who wants to?
I'll go.
Okay, Ashley.
So my biggest achievement as a Black woman in sport, I would say that making any, all-star team, all-rookie team, those are pretty big accomplishments for me. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Quebec and all of the politics here and everything with volleyball, language, and everything between. But just being recognized, and actually acknowledged for my accomplishments as a player was huge for me. It wasn't something that was easy, to receive the kind of recognition, even when it was, duly earned and, on paper statistically and everything like that. So actually receiving that acknowledgement from my peers and other coaches who are obviously, predominantly white was something that really kind of changed my life, and made me realize that it's possible to reach those achievements. And even it's more than just knowing it and for yourself. It's nice to be recognized for it. And another one was actually, I won RSEQ Coach of the Year in 2018 for Division II college volleyball here. And I'm the only, maybe one out of two female coaches in our league, and the only Black coach. So that was a very, surreal experience for me. I remember when I found out, my mom came screaming down the stairs at 3 a.m, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you won!" And I fell out of my bed, and we were just screaming in the house. And other coaches were coming up to me, male Caucasian coaches, and they were like, "Great job, did a great thing with your team." And I was just like, it felt good, to really be rewarded for my hard work. And I think it's inspirational for, all of the young girls that we're coaching, for fellow coaches. So those are pretty important achievements for me.
Linnea.
Suppose I can go next. I've had those moments, Ashley, where you won something, you're like, oh my gosh, amazing. But I think right now, one of the achievements that I have that's not even really that big, but I feel very proud, is just being recognized. I'll talk to someone, I'm like, hi, like I'm Linnea, nice to meet you. And they'll be like, oh, you're Linnea. And I'm like, wait, what? Like just people like knowing my name and be like, I've heard so much about you. And I'm like, I hope it's good things. Like, it's just even being asked to do this, like having you reach out to me and be like, hey, like come do this talk. Like those are little achievements, but they feel very big to me.
I'm going to piggyback off that. Yeah, I understand that. I think this summer I kind of started my own thing, called it Play Like a Pro. And I went to the beach once and I saw like 3 kids wearing my shirts. And I was like, this is so weird. It feels anywhere I went, I would see kids wearing like Thunder shirts. And it kind of felt like, man, they might know, I have no idea who they are, but they might know who I am. And it kind of like putting me in that role was kind of like, okay, I like this feeling. Yeah. So I can relate to that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. The next question is, have any new challenges arrived due to COVID-19 and also Black Lives Matter movement? Love the shirt, Linnea. Callie.
The wave really does work. This one has definitely been heavy for me personally. After the death of George Floyd and the climax of Black Lives Matter in the summer, it just, on top of all the reflection I think I did as just a biracial human and living with my group of people and my family, like my Black family, and kind of reliving the experiences that we just deal with daily. On top of that, then walking into an institution where we only have three full-time Black coaches and staff within our varsity, 3 to 4. It was tough. I had organized on my own time a speaker series that lasted a month, and then there was a few athletes that had reached out and said, hey, we really need someone to represent our voice. And there was no way that I was going to let those athletes down. So I took on that role. Black History Month right now has been heavy. I think for the most, all of us. I've been involved in extreme amounts of like media planning, and I feel bad because I feel like I've been taken away kind of from my sport, from coaching, and that it sucks too because we're unable to coach due to COVID on top of that, and this is my first year coaching and trying to connect with the team. So it's been super beneficial, I think, for the athletes, the Black athletes on campus. Like I'm pumped to have started something with them. We started the first Black Student Athlete Advocacy Council, and we got to sit and talk to the presidents of the university. And Ottawa has not been outstanding per se. I don't know if you guys have seen in the media, but there has been some not so great things happen on our campus. But I've been a push of positive change, which I'm super excited about. But it's also, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of time and energy and tears and laughter. But ultimately, hopefully, there is something structured and changed, and then I can go back to coaching and be involved 100% and give all my energy to the team, knowing that the anti-racism is being dealt with by someone who is paid for on our campus. So that's kind of my spiel.
Ashley.
I think one of the challenges following the events that took place last summer has been how much space I want to take up. I've been very vocal about my feelings about, what happened with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter on my own personal platforms. And, I'm not biracial, but I have half of my family is white, half my family is Black. So I've gotten into a few arguments with people, and just trying to highlight the importance of the issues that we're facing. But when it comes to coaching, I have one Black athlete on my team, and so I don't want to be the coach that's like pushing Black Lives Matter, and like I had one of my athletes come to me and say, hey, I want to like make these like Black Lives Matter t-shirts for the team, and we're gonna put like volleyball in the back, and she was showing me all these designs, and I'm like, that's awesome, but I don't want people to think that I'm forcing you to do this. My coaching staff, we're 3 Black women, and all of our little white girls be wearing these Black Lives Matter shirts, which is great, but I don't want it to seem like I'm forcing it upon my team, so it's kind of difficult to, navigate myself in a predominantly Caucasian world without being like that Black woman who's like constantly talking about, these issues that don't affect the majority here. So that's been a challenging thing for me to deal with, I'd say.
And Jolie.
I think to both those points, yeah, you don't want to be the angry Black woman, right? Like that's what we try to avoid for the most part. And Corinne talked earlier about it being a battle for female coaches early, and I know that for myself, the events of the last year or the last few months, as an early coach, it was about the female experience, making sure women were coaching, supporting that, pushing that package. And then the last few months, suddenly I had to think about color. Suddenly I had to take my head out of the sand really and sort of see where it all intersected for me in the bigger picture. And it's been tough. Like both those pieces, it's been tough. It's been tough to suddenly be the voice, to be on the Black Women's Tour, the Black Female Coaching Tour around around Canada, and everybody wants to hear my voice all of a sudden, but most people didn't know I existed before George Floyd died, but suddenly they do. And so I guess my biggest concern, to be honest, is that at the end of all this push, are things going to be different? Or are we just going to go, hey, we looked at it, we hired a couple of token people, moved a couple of chess pieces around, and we're good. Everything is settled. We showed that we listened, but no changes actually made. And I think that's my biggest concern coming out of the summer and coming into this scenario right now, is that nothing is going to ultimately change in a year, because in a year, it's not loud. In a year, there's no more screaming. In a year, there's no more protest. Where are we then? Because that's going to be the biggest test of all that has happened over this past 10 months. Just my thoughts.
Linnea?
Yeah, I have the same feelings as you, Jolie. I've personally given up on everyone older and have been really just focusing on my kids, because I personally, like, when else are they going to have a Black coach in volleyball unless they come over to you? You know what I mean? Like, there's very few of us. The chance of them having another Black female coach is so low. So I'm using them to not feed them so much information, but let them be aware of the issues, let them know what's going on so that it trickles up. And as they move forward, hopefully I've left a good example on them and that sort of thing, that they can then go and educate other people. And gradually over the years, it's not going to happen in 1, 2, 3 years, but hopefully down the line, things can be way different than they are now if we can get the younger ones to be involved with these issues and recognize privilege and all those sorts of things, that hopefully there will be change in the future. Hopefully.
Corinne?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Jolie said. I mean, the concept of pulling your head out of the sand, that's exactly what I would say I felt. Because I I can't say that I wasn't aware, but I wasn't socially aware of being, let's say, a Black woman in the face of Black Lives Matter. How does my world change, and how do I navigate through that? But I guess my question, I know I probably shouldn't ask the question, but my question for the group is what change are we as Black female coaches looking for? What would be our expectation of something that progresses out of this Black Lives Matter? And as Jolie said, that time is going to pass and it's not going to be a focal point anymore. But what are we looking for? Because I can't answer that question. Maybe you guys can help me frame something. Sorry to go off script.
No, that's fabulous. Linnea, fabulous question. Muted, Linnea.
There we go. I'm just hoping for more open dialogue. A lot of people are so scared to talk about race. Like if I mention it, like I'm racist or like whatever. I'm just hoping that there can be more conversations, that more people, even Black people, like being in a white space, you're sometimes scared to talk about these issues or bring them up. So hopefully people get more comfortable with this and are not afraid anymore. Or if you bring something up, you don't get judgment back. That's the kind of change that I'm hoping happens one day.
Callie.
I think, yeah, and this like going off the same thing, just an awareness that like we are here, and hopefully we get to a point where we're not second guessing a Black female coach, like, or we don't, like, I think for me, I'm always questioning, am I valid? Like, will these kids actually respond to me? And hopefully it's also like changing the conversations in team rooms, or, I was on a lot of teams where like, Callie, do the little African dance, and like, that's your stuff. This is your culture. And I was like, I was lucky enough to have one Black athlete go through my 5 years, but it was either we were put in a constant battle, or, we had to defend ourselves or defend why. Like, I had athletes come up to me and be like, oh, why do Black people stink? What? But then it's me also realizing, okay, so I play volleyball with kids who have funding from their parents, who have been in a dual parent home, who get put into these volleyball camps, who have just played with white kids their entire lives, and then this is the first time that they're seeing and living their lives with other racialized humans. So I think my hope, again, is just creating a better awareness. And then also I'm a big fan of like collecting data. Like, I hope Volleyball Canada kind of collects their data on their Black athletes. How many of us have impacted? We have like Shina Joseph, we have Shanice, we have these massive people in our Volleyball Canada, like in their streams, right? Who represent so much more. So I feel like they should be given at least mental health tools or space or people that reflect them at higher levels. So that's kind of what I'm hoping.
Thank you. Shanice.
Yeah, I think I think some really interesting points have been brought up. When I think of some of the challenges of coaching, I think, the first kind of big challenge is being a female coaching in sport. I didn't have my first female coach until I was in grade 12. And then beyond that, I've had Jolie as an assistant coach once, and maybe a few other assistant coaches. Like, there haven't been too many women. So now that, we're kind of breaking through that in volleyball, and there are so many more women involved in coaching, then now I'm looking at it kind of through the lens of how can we get more BIPOC individuals in the sport, and how can we, make their voices feel valued and heard. I know for me, as an athlete, kind of even where I am right now in my own career, I don't necessarily feel like my voice is always valid or heard, or that the feedback that I'm giving is accepted. And sometimes I question whether that's because I'm a woman. I question whether that's because I'm a biracial woman. I begin to question all these things. And I think, to answer your question, Corinne, what I would hope to see is that we no longer have to question ourselves because of those things. And that this, kind of new standard becomes normalized, and that we can feel accepted in the spaces that we're in because, we've earned these positions and we are valued. And it would just feel really nice to know that that value is coming from the other side as well.
I'll quickly jump in there.
Okay.
I like this question. And I think for me, it's a matter of, I think we've all understand that there's not a ton of Black female coaches in the volleyball world. That's fact. And as we try to change that, I think the importance of kind of creating a community amongst us, so that when there is a kid, like for me, for example, if I knew there was a Black association coach, whatever, and I could reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm looking for a mentor or something, and then just kind of facilitate it that way. So even if there isn't change where we can't necessarily always control it, there's change within us and we can support each other, and we give opportunity to young kids to kind of relate to someone or find someone they can look up to. Because I think for me, that's kind of what I missed. It was like, I didn't know what I could do. I didn't see anybody like me doing the things that I wanted to do. So I think if they had that opportunity, it would be pretty sweet as a young athlete.
Jolie, go ahead there.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, the 2 points previous, and to answer Corinne's question. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all those things. It's a community of coaches, female, BIPOC, a community of coaches where we start slowly breaking down the barriers created through systemic and institutionalized racism, sexism, and all those isms that hold back the others of the world, right? And I don't expect it to happen in a year, and I don't expect it to happen in 2, but I am hopeful that I get to see that over time, we do get recognized for the things that we're capable of, and that we're not seeing, the whole Martin Luther King speech about being judged by the content of our character and not by the color of our skin, which is great but then what happens is people say, well, I don't see color, right? That's the response. Well, I don't see color. I'm not racist. But what they fail to say is that I actually do see color. And because of that, I am judging you not as equal as the white guy, and so it's my hope that we do get recognized for I want people to know I'm Black because that's who I am, but I'm also bigger and a bigger person than that. I am more than just the color of my skin. I work hard. I have my levels. I do all the things I need to do to be a successful coach. And that's how I want you to judge me, is the things that I am capable of, and recognize that I do bring a different perspective as a woman of color. And those are all the things that I would like to see shift, change, create some opportunities at a higher level, whether it's managers at the institutional level or directors or CEOs. That's stuff I would like to see happen. I'd like to see Volleyball Canada actually have representation on some level, because there may not be a lot of us, but there's still a percentage of us. So, I'd like to see some representation at the Volleyball Canada level, that they recognize that, there's Asian teams, this isn't just about us. This is about all the teams that are represented across the country. And so why aren't there BIPOC members sitting in leadership positions in all our institutions?
And I think on that note, we'll head to the next question, because that really, was very powerful, Jolie, very powerful. So do you feel, and some have touched on this, do you feel that diversity has grown in the sport of volleyball since you started your careers? Shanice?
Yeah, I saw this question and I've been thinking about it, and I'm really not sure how I want to answer it, because I think the answer is both yes and no. Um, you know, okay, I'll speak from like a high performance national team program kind of perspective. And when I was growing up and when I was on the youth national team, I was the only colored individual. When I was on the junior national team, it was the same thing. But, you know, as I got older, as I got into the senior national team, there were a few women who were older than me that I could look up to. And even when I was close to retiring from the indoor team, you know, there are more people getting involved. So I think at the high performance level, there are so few of us, but their impact is so profound. But then when I look at like club volleyball now or school volleyball, I'm not sure that diversity is still there, that diversity is growing or improving. I think, you know, in some instances it probably is, and then that depends on, you know, where you are in this country. But I think at the same time, it hasn't necessarily improved, and I question whether that's because, you know, the cost of playing volleyball has increased so much. Like I remember when I played club and I paid $500 for a club season, and that for me was a stretch. And now costs to play club volleyball are like in the thousands. So I wonder if that's really closing off a lot of young women who maybe don't, you know, have the same socioeconomic background. They don't have the finances to be in those positions. And I'm wondering if that's pushing some athletes away from the sport. So I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Shanice. Is it, Linnea, did you want to add to that or very similar?
I can't say there's been a lot of change. I think things are changing, like having that Black Canadian Association group that I've been feel very blessed to be a part of, because that was not around, or it wasn't big when I was playing, and even when I started coaching. So personally, I don't think there's been that much change, but you know, I'm hopeful that there will be soon.
Thanks. And we'll go one more here, Corinne.
I think we first, I mean, because this group is together, that indicates that there has been change. So I can honestly say that, and Jolie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this many Black females on talking about volleyball, I can't think of it happening 10 years ago. Yeah, so there has been changes, and commending all of you for making that change occur. So small steps to get big wins. So I think with the athletes, it's hard to say, why don't Black female athletes tend towards volleyball? You have an answer?
Yeah. Sorry, before you talk, Lynette, sorry, I just wanted to piggyback on what Corinne just said. I agree with you. I agree that the fact that we are sitting in this forum right now with the ability to have a conversation. And I don't know, you know, Nikki Cornwell, I think, saw me once as a coach, maybe at some point in her life. And maybe there's a disconnect, like maybe in the back of her mind, she was like, oh, there is a Black coach, but didn't think about it. Maybe Shanice, you know, worked with me at the national team level. And in the back of her mind was like, oh yeah, there are Black coaches, and Callie saw me. And, you know, and I know for me, it was a Black man who coached in Quebec that showed me Black people could coach, and he was very successful. And, you know, so maybe in the back of our minds, as long as we are visible, and the first step is finding a place to be, being an assistant coach somewhere, being at camps, stepping on the court and doing stuff, just be available for them to see, because that, I think, will be the game changer. And we are moving in the right direction, however slowly we're moving. We are moving. But yeah, it's still not as much as I'd like, and it's not as great as basketball has done to bring young kids of color in. Sorry, Linnea.
No, that was great. I was just gonna say, I was thinking about this because, you know, my secret goal is to get more women to continue playing so we can have more coaches. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure on academics. And if you are involved in athletics, not just volleyball, that you're taking away from learning, you know, from growing in school and like getting good grades and getting, you know, university, college degrees and what have you. And I think for a lot of, you know, BIPOC athletes, their families are from other countries and they came here and they, you know, get that better life. At least with my family, that's how it was. So you know, we came here so you can get a better education, not necessarily play sports. So I'm finding that, you know, after a while with some of the athletes that I've had, it's I can't play this year because my parents want me to focus on school. You know, I'm going to grade 12. I have to start thinking about universities. Whereas I feel like with a lot of like white athletes, that's not necessarily you know, like a goal or something like that. I just feel like even with me, when I was in grade 12, my father told me that I couldn't play club and I couldn't play high school, that I was going to school, post-secondary school next year. So I couldn't play both because I need to focus on athletics, or sorry, on academics. So I think that's where we're losing some females and we're losing some BIPOC athletes.
Thank you. Ashley.
I'm going to be really quick. I agree with what Linnea is saying, and I also agree with what you said, because first of all, to play volleyball, you need to have, well, obviously a ball, you need to have a gym, you need to have, you know, so many more resources than if you were to play basketball. Like if you can give kids a soccer ball, a basketball, and they can basically, you know, learn how to play on their own. But for volleyball, it's so technical. It's very difficult to teach yourself how to play. So just in terms of accessibility, it's very difficult, you know, for people to get involved in the sport. And I think you almost have to have like, you know, someone bring you into it or introduce it to you and tell you what it's about, or, you know, get you into the sport so that you could actually develop in it. So it's not an easy sport. It's a very technical sport. It's like playing, you know, like tennis or gymnastics. Not everybody has, you know, the means, the resources to even find a club, or, you know, here in Quebec, it's really difficult. You know, first of all, you have to be French or go to a French school to have chances of playing for a, you know, a competitive team. So if you're Anglophone and, you know, you're a person of color, it's even more rare to see, you know, athletes playing volleyball. So there's a lot of other aspects to it, I think, that make it difficult for us to see young Black women playing volleyball.
Absolutely. Okay, Jolie, and then we're going to the next one.
Okay, just want to add to that point is I also think we have to start creating the dream. I think what basketball has done is they've told every Black kid, you're going to play WNBA or you're going to play NBA, and their parents have bought into it. And yeah, I agree, socioeconomics plays a huge role, but their parents have bought into it because they believe in the dream of something beyond just playing pickup basketball on the street. And there are opportunities for volleyball. There are scholarships. There are, you know, now that we give academic scholarships here in Canada, there are opportunities, but we don't sell it to the BIPOC communities in the same way. Because I know when I go out and recruit, they're like, oh, like regardless of where I was recruiting for, they're like, oh, there's scholarships. And I'm like, yeah, there's opportunities for your children, but they got to keep playing volleyball, you know? So I think it's our job and all jobs of the coaches to sell the dream and the opportunities that exist thanks to volleyball, whether it's university education or maybe it's going overseas. And let's face it, a lot of girls, and I don't want to use the word mediocre, but there's a lot of mediocre volleyball players in Europe playing pro volleyball because the opportunity does exist. And so if we want to see change across the BIPOC community there, we have to start selling the dream of opportunity.
Thanks. Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up with the last question here. I'm gonna maybe start with Corinne, and I'm just gonna have each of you just talk through, like just go through it. You don't need me. I think you've got you can sort of see when somebody unmutes that they're gonna speak. So you can take it from there and maybe finish with Callie, and then you can wrap it up there, Callie. So what piece of advice would you give to young Black females, BIPOC females in volleyball right now?
Great question. Try it. You like it? For me, volleyball is important because it's about team. So trying it, becoming a good teammate, and you'll love it.
Okay, I'll go next. um, I would say, first of all, if you're in Quebec, reach out to me because I haven't seen another Black female coach in Quebec. And I've navigated, the English and French system to get to where I am today. So I can help you. But also, you might be the only Black person on your team. I'm sure that many of us, were that one person. But don't let that stop you because there's so much that you can do. Focus on yourself, focus on learning, developing, creating great relationships, and like there's really no limit to what you can do. So I think that that's something that I would tell young Black athletes. And you will love it. It's true. It's the best sort. It's the best sport for sure, hands down.
I'll go next. I think I would tell them to, stand tall and be proud of who you are and to know that you belong, even if you can't see yourself in the places that you want to go. I think it's really important to dream big dreams, regardless of what it looks like down the road.
I would say that even though, the Black community is smaller in volleyball, to not be afraid because we're here. Look at us now. We're here to answer questions. We're here to help you. There is a community. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I think I would just encourage them to reach out. Playing overseas, I realized how small the volleyball community is. When I was looking at a new team in a different country, I would message any North American that played there and be like, "Hey, how was your experience?" And I realized that everybody's willing to help. So just encourage the kids to reach out, find someone, whether it's one of us or whoever, just find someone to talk to, and then just pursue it because there's so many opportunities. I try to get that through on my Instagram page. Is that whether you're just in it to make friends or gain some leadership experience or just experience life in different ways and get to travel at the end of the day. If you're in it for scholarship purposes, like there's so many opportunities. It's always like, there's always something beneficial to come from it. So, yeah.
I don't have much else to add. Just find your place. There's a place for you here and there's a place for you anywhere. And just as you, as a little girl, you put on your Wonder Woman cape at Halloween and you want to be Wonder Woman, you can be whatever you want to be in this sport. That's the beauty of it. So that's all I'd say.
Yeah, like I think everyone has summarized it quite a bit, but my advice would just be like, become whoever you want to be. If you want to be the loud girl, then be the loud girl. If you want to be the quiet girl, then be the quiet girl. Like it really, nothing should hold you back. If you love something, follow it. If you have a challenge, find the people to help you find the solution to that challenge. Again, we're all here, and it's just really proud moment, I think, at least for me, to have a bunch of females and females that look like me, like Jolie, seeing you that one time, I remember sitting on the bench at Queens. I think it was a tournament. It was me and China, and I think we were talking about like the hip hop music or something. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I would love Jolie as a coach. I just don't want to go to Queens. That was my one thing. so little moments of impact are massive for anybody, I think, and we've had a little moment of impact, at least in my life. So I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Christine for being the awesome moderator. Even though I threw you into this last minute, I'm sorry, but you did awesome. I love it. Again, another empowering figure to look at in this volleyball world. I want to thank all of you ladies for giving me your time today and affecting change. Like, this is maybe a little bit, but it's step one. Again, who knew that we would be here 10 years ago? Who knew we would, what will it be like in 10 years from now? So I'm gonna end this session with a nice little quote from Serena Williams, because I love the woman. Yeah, woo woo, Queen Serena. So she says, "The success of every woman should be the inspiration to another. We should raise each other up, make sure that you're very courageous, be strong, be extremely kind, and above all, be humble." So thank you guys once again for this awesome session.
Saying mirrors are for vanity and windows are for pain, and memories complain. Might as well just do our thing and just elevate. Watch me elevate.